Hi, it's Chris Watkin here, and in my series of talking to agents who've made the jump into self-employed agency, I'm with the man with the beard, Ben Moore. Ben, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
No worries. Ben, when did you originally become an estate agent?
About a decade or so ago, just under 10 years.
Is that when you started growing your moustache?
Believe it or not, this is about 7-8 months growth.
Excellent. So, why did you want to become an estate agent?
I didn't, in truth, to be
Just fall in like the rest of us?
Just fell into it. I mean, I know you've interviewed a few people and they had some deep-rooted desire to change the industry, or an estate agent ruined the day years ago and they had to kind of change the sector.
Yeah, we get them all out. They have like press buttons, which option?
But no, for me, I was all about working in sport and health and physical activity. I realised that I wasn't going to satisfy what I wanted to earn at that time when I got out of uni. There wasn't too many opportunities in that space, and I just fell into property and haven't looked back since.
So what, you started off as T-boy, negotiator?
Exactly that. So I did a bit of sales.
Where was this?
At a company called Express Estate Agency.
Oh, I know them, yes.
Based in Manchester, yeah.
Yeah.
To be honest, really good foot in the door, because they, at that time, was just rapidly expanding, and they've got what we now refer to as a hybrid setup. So what that meant for me, with no experience, was that I could go into this kind of hub, and there was like 200 amazing, really experienced agents that I was just sponging knowledge of. So for me, I always think I got a bit of a crash course, and I went from T-boy to, not in title, but I was kind of assistant sales manager in my team, and yeah, that was the springboard that I needed.
How long were you at Express for?
About 2 years.
Okay. So what did you do next?
So I left Express, and again I had a bit of a touch, Chris, because I was employed by an SME. So there was a company looking to start up on the other side of Manchester, and these guys were really cool, full of ambition. They had a lot of money, but their approach to business was just throw money at it and let Ben work it out. So at that point I had a lot of operational experience and knew how to sell houses. But in this new role, I was learning about B2B relationships, lead generation, recruitment. I was doing everything operationally from start to finish. And what I actually learned was the numbers behind the business. I learned what it took to put X amount of money in here, wait X amount of time, and then get an outcome there. And then once I understood the numbers and the mechanics of how an agency worked, that for me was what I needed to go self-employed. And that's exactly what I did.
So how long were you at this firm for then?
Probably about 18 months.
Okay.
Or so.
So we've still got a gap. We've still got a gap there. Did you go? Why did you only there for 18 months? Did you go work somewhere else?
Just an entrepreneur. I had to go self-employed. I had to work for myself.
So when did you go self-employed as an estate agent starting?
So the first business, I think, according to Company's House, I set up towards the end of 2012. That was Sell Simple Estate Agency. That was my first project.
Okay.
So that was just me naively thinking that I could make a success of it, and I started that business from home in my one-bedroom flat from my kitchen, on the phone, just trying to scale the business as a bit of a one-man band. We did quite well with that. We scaled it up. I got investment from a company in London, relocated down to London, and essentially sold that business and then moved back up north in 2014. So I grew that for 2 years and then exited.
So what happened in 14?
2014, I moved back up to Manchester, and then I set up a business in February 2015, which was called Smart Move. Loved that. I got to set up with my best mate. We got an office in Bury, and it was the same sort of thing. I managed to convince him that it was a good idea. We got an office together, and we just started hitting the phones, drumming up business, and together we grew that portfolio again over the next couple of years.
So why aren't you still there now?
So what essentially happened was I, quite unexpectedly, got the news that I was going to be a dad. So I was a single lad at this point. I had a husky, a little apartment that I rented near work, and then I got with my now partner Becky, and she's got 2 little boys from a previous relationship, and then we fell pregnant with Esme, a little girl. So quite literally overnight I went from this bachelor with his own business to being almost like a family man, really. So it was a big change in lifestyle. That would have been 2017. So pause way too long then. Don't let my missus see this, Chris. But yeah, so what essentially happened is, just to cut a long story short, is the chips kind of fell into play. I randomly got made an offer from the business from kind of an associate of an associate, which worked. My business partner was happy with it. And then because Esme was coming, it was kind of a case of well, now it's time to be a grown-up, to get on the property ladder, to buy a house, to find somewhere to call home. And that's when I moved up to the Fylde Coast, where I live now. We bought a property, and I've been there ever since.
So that's the posh part of Blackpool, isn't it? Isn't it?
So I'm based in a town called Cleveland. I always say the Fylde Coast, because when I say Blackpool, all my mates think I've got like a candy floss machine in my garden or something like that, but it's not the case. It's actually pretty good where I live. I like it.
It is the posh part. I know it well. So what I do? This is 2017, 2018. What did you do then?
So when Esme was born, so I spent a little bit of time at Purple Bricks, actually. So when I first moved up to the Fylde Coast, I always kind of cut over this, but it's quite important. So I'd seen a lot of people in the industry go to PB, people that I used to work with. So it kind of intrigued me. After dismissing it for a while, I thought, well, a few people have been through that process. Let me go and see how it works. So I got offered a job as a TO for the Fylde Coast, territory owner, working with Purple Bricks. And I was there for probably about 7 or 8 months. I enjoyed the experience. I worked with some great people. I really, really did. My regional director and I had an assistant that worked with me in the Fylde Coast, and we rubbed together quite well. But it didn't work for me. And the reason it didn't work for me was because even on a good month when I was earning, decent commission, probably more than what I would have earned on the high street, I kind of felt as if the exchange for time for what I was getting back in money wasn't quite stacking up.
You got a little baby, hadn't you, by this point?
I was there just before she came, actually. Okay. And it lapped over, I think, she was born in March, and I must have left there. I'm rubbish with dates, Chris. March, April.
So what happened then?
So after I left PB, I just took a bit of time out. I still had a few quid from a business sale, so I just decided I'm just going to put my career on the back burner for the first time in my life, and I'm just going to enjoy being a dad. So for pretty much most of the first year of Esme's life, I was just a full-time dad, which was amazing. I still think it's probably the best decision that I've ever made for my career, apart from partnering with the XP, obviously. And then, we just spent time together. But then inevitably my savings started to shrink. She started to get bigger and go to nursery. Then I kind of got to this point where I thought, well, it's time to really sort of take stock now and decide what that next move is going to look like. And I decided at that point, I had about 11 grand behind me left over from a business sale, which obviously isn't a huge amount of money to start an agency, but I ran my figures, and again, probably quite naively, I thought maybe I can make this work if I hit certain conversions and the stars line up and it all goes well. And we got off to a good start with listings. So this was me completely by myself again in my market. We hit listings, but I made a bit of a cardinal sin where I built a bit of a rod for my own back, where I was so thirsty to just get boards up and start making an impact. I just dropped my fees to levels that wasn't sustainable. And in hindsight, Chris, I probably didn't need to drop them as low as I did, but I was desperate for the stock, and that's what I did. So even when it started to pay through and we got the exchanges and completions, it just wasn't washing the face of what I needed to run that business, let alone make a profit. So again, long story short, we put those plans on pause. I had to come back with my tail between my legs slightly, kind of admit defeat and walk away from that as a lesson learned. And then I just didn't know what I was going to do. I just kind of thought, what now? I couldn't imagine that I was ever going to go employed, because obviously after spending most of my career working for myself, it wasn't really appealing. And I ended up going back into fitness. So I started personal training. I was back at a leisure club not far from me. And that's when I really started to understand about what you hate, personal brand, that term. I started to learn about the power of building a personality-driven business. I was looking at people like Joe Wicks in the fitness space and other personal trainers who had built an amazing community around making it around them and their message and their purpose. I took a lot of inspiration from that, and I guess really that step back from the industry allowed me to kind of just look at the wider business world rather than being bogged down in estate agency. So I went through that process, and then obviously I caught up with Adam, seeing a few bits on LinkedIn about this EXP lark, and I thought I'll just reach out and find out what it's all about. He debriefed me on the model and how it worked and what the setup was and what I'd make and what I'd pay, and for me it was just wow.
So when did you join EXP?
I would have been around mid-October-ish last year.
That's 2019.
2019. Yeah.
Did you look at any other models?
So obviously I knew that the PB hybrid type model was never going to work for me, because it just didn't make sense for the time I'd have to put in for the cash that I got back. So the only other option then is people like KW. Which again, I think they've got a great business. I endorse anyone who embraces this new way of working. I think it's great for the industry, and it's good to give the agent that choice. I actually knew a guy from PB who used to work with their recruitment for quite some time before he came to PB. So I spoke to him directly, and he kind of ran me through the numbers and all the rest of it. And then I spoke to Adam, got the numbers from his side, and for me, there was no big romantic vision at that stage in terms of who I was going to partner with. It was just literally down to the economics of the model. What am I going to pay? What's the upside? What are the terms? What do I need to know? And I just crunched the numbers. And for me, as egotistical as it sounds, I had confidence in my ability to convert and do the business side of it because I've done it twice before. I just needed to know how much money can I make. And EXP was the best route to earning the most money I
But
can.
how are you going to learn from, you've opened a number of estate agents, some have been successful, some haven't. How are you going to make sure you don't make those same mistakes again? And why do you think you made those mistakes?
Sure. So I always say I'd never change a thing about my career in terms of how it's gone. But if I was going to criticise it, the worst thing about the route that I took, Chris, was I had to learn every mistake the hard way. And because I was always top of the tree, if you will, I was the one making the decisions, it was my business, there was no one really to learn from. I've never had a mentor, I've never had somebody kind of hold my hand or challenge my thinking. It's just been whether I survive, whether it's the worst decision ever, I'll make it.
Is that what you get with Adam, the fact that he challenges you and coaches you and mentors you?
Yeah.
He's not your boss, is he?
He's not my boss, no, but we do work very closely together. So just to kind of give you a bit of a background on this, when I joined the model, probably in my own blinkered kind of way, I sort of thought, just leave me to it and I'll crack on. And Adam would be happy to leave me to it and crack on if that's what I wanted to do. And we got a few listings. I got my first sale in the first month. And then I just kind of hit this spell where, for whatever reason, I wasn't generating leads. I wasn't getting in living rooms. It was as simple as that. And that's when the experience of someone like Adam comes into full focus. Okay. So again, not to blow too much smoke up Adam's backside, but Adam's achieved a lot in the industry. Someone that I respect, and business to one side, I just click with him, and he's a good guy to speak to. So to be able to pick up the phone to Adam and just say, look, this is what I'm struggling with, give me some ideas, give me some suggestions, let's brainstorm, that was really powerful. That's what put me back on the right track.
Because, if you don't mind me saying, if you were to look at your LinkedIn profile, you would think that you weren't actually an estate agent and you were just a recruitment manager for EXP. How would you retort on that one?
Yeah, I think it's just down to me knowing my audience. So if you used to go on any of the other profiles, if you used to go on my Instagram account, if you used to go on my Facebook account, you're going to see Ben Moore, the estate agent, because that's where my avatar hangs out. I'm sharing to local groups and speaking to people in my local community on the Fylde Coast. It's all about property and adding value. Whereas on LinkedIn, I'm speaking more to my peers, I'm speaking to the industry, I'm trying to empower other entrepreneurs to look at this model, so it's a different message. So
therefore, what you're doing is that if someone's only connected up with you on LinkedIn, they'll see Ben Moore, the guy who's being a thought leader in the industry, and someone that I will just blow smoke up your arse. I think what you do is exceptional.
I appreciate that, Chris, thank
you. Yet what you're saying is, and this is a lesson for all you boys and girls out there in estate agency land, is different avatars or different social media platforms, you're doing the stuff that will generate you the business as well.
Exactly.
Because you can't do both on the same platform, can you?
No, you can't. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm speaking to a different audience on LinkedIn. So my approach, my style, my delivery is slightly different to what it might be if I was.
Are you still using your personality in the posh part of Blackpool, using the Ben Moore that we know and love on LinkedIn, but Blackpoolising it?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say, and I might let the odd swear word slip on LinkedIn, whereas I wouldn't really do that in a customer-facing environment. But yeah, it's the same person. I think it's important, and one of the great things about video, not to take this off topic, but video is a good filtering system, I find. So I think it's important that when you're building a business by design, you're building a business that you want to work in and enjoy being a part of. You want to be working with the right clients, the right properties, the people who click with you and get your message. And I think it's naive to think that you're going to be everyone's cup of tea. So putting yourself out there on video, for me, it's a good filtering system to send the people who don't click with me and don't understand and don't want to work with me, send them in one direction and then bring other people into my ecosystem.
But surely you want everyone to use you, don't you?
No, that's not mine. So
you're using the power of social media, more importantly the power of video, to create a personal brand. I'm a huge fan of the personal brand, but more I prefer to use the word reputation,
yeah.
but we'll use the word personal brand for everyone out there, to enable you to attract clients to you in Blackpool, yet at the same time, because the EXP model does allow whatever you call yourself, partner, associate, to bring other people on, and you get like a little bit of their commission, don't you? Not too much, not to the detriment of them, do you?
No, not to the detriment of the individual. So how that The best way to look at it is if we set up Watkin and Moore estate agents, or Moore and Watkin, I think it's got a better ring to it.
M does become W. M does come before W.
So if we was to set up that business and we wanted to get a superstar valuer to come in and help us grow the business, what would you expect to pay a recruitment company to place a good lister who's going to bring business for us?
4 or 5 grand.
Okay, so what EXP do is rather than spend 4 or 5 grand on a third-party recruiter and send that money out of the business, they'll just keep that money internally. So if an agent says, Ben, I love what you're doing on LinkedIn or Facebook, I love the videos, love the content, tell me more about EXP, and they decide to join, EXP will kick me back a financial thank you out of their 30%, by the way, not the agent, so it doesn't impact on what the agent earns, but EXP will kick me back a share of that revenue as a thank you for bringing that person into the business.
What would you change about EXP?
I wish they started sooner. But in all honesty, as wishy-washy as this sounds, the model has worked brilliantly well for me. The only thing that would ever, and I'll be honest now, very open, I'm someone, I've got this entrepreneurial disease, I think you can call it.
Because what I do spot, if you don't mind me saying, is most estate agents are estate agents in business. You seem to be a business person who does estate agency. How do we know you're not going to get bored of this in a few years' time and go off?
Exactly the point. So I think in any other model that probably would be a real risk. I think that could happen. The reason why I call it an entrepreneurial disease is because I'm always looking for innovation. I'm always looking to evolve, to expand, to
grow. Is it shiny object syndrome?
I think there's been a degree of that maybe, but I've always kept very focused in estate agency terms on my mission in hand. So again, I know that it failed with one of my businesses, but previous to that, we've been nothing to Adam's scale. I'm no Michael Bruce, but I've had success. Very proud of what I've achieved, and I think that if I was in any other variation of this model, eventually I'd get to a point where I'd think, wow, it works this. I understand the model, I understand the numbers. Now I'm going to go and create more property partners, and I'm going to empower Chris Watkins to be powered by more property partners. But in EXP, there's no restriction to how I can scale and grow my team, so I've not got that concern. And aside from that, I become a shareholder in the business. So whenever I'm doing my job, I get shares in EXP World Holdings. So for me, I feel as if EXP, in a naive way, is almost it is my business. I've got shares in the business, and I can grow my organisation.
Do you think that's going to keep you longer?
I think that'll keep me forever. I can't see I'd ever leave the model. Genuinely, I know that's a strong statement, but I can't see a situation where I'd ever feel the want or need to leave.
Thank you for your time today, Ben.
Thank you for having me.